We'll get started in 1 minute, folks. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of the Energy Light program. We're going to start the day off with our module on tools to consider. And in this module, we have no fewer than 3 subject matter experts that are going to help things along. And so I'll introduce you to all 3 of them, and they'll jump in through the module as when queued and as time allows. So first of all, we have Kevin Bork. He's a senior engineer for RETScreen International. Kevin is part of the outreach team for the RETScreen Clean Energy Management Software at Natural Resources Canada. And he's been involved in every aspect of RETScreen, including development of the power, industrial, commercial, institutional, and residential archetypes, and developing online distance learning tools such as the e-learning channel, e-textbook, and case studies. Kevin has delivered hundreds of training seminars and workshops, all with the goal of helping people with their energy analysis. Kevin recently completed the RETScreen benchmarking portfolio for the Council of Ontario Universities. He applied individual archetypes to all 1,386 facilities in Ontario's 21 universities, representing over 9.5 million square meters of floor area. Quite a task. Kevin obtained a Bachelor of Energy Engineering degree from McGill University, and he's been working in the energy field since 1999. I'll also introduce you to Isabelle Guimont. Isabelle was born and raised in Quebec, has a bachelor's degree in business administration from Laval, and has over 20 years experience in project management, and has worked for 20 years promoting energy efficiency and the Energy Star program, which I'm sure quite a few of you are familiar with. We'll also hear from Dan Ritchie from the Canadian Coalition for Green Healthcare, and he'll talk about the Green Healthcare Scorecard program. So welcome everyone, and I'll pass it over to Stephen to get us started on the tools module.
That's great. Thank you, JJ. And Dan, when make sure your microphone is ready there. So when I get to the tools section, I'll cue you in. I know Kevin is going to come up with some slides, and I think Isabelle will talk to a couple of slides. So I'll be using the slides, and she'll be speaking. So that's kind of our logistics. So bear with us, everybody, and we'll get rolling here. Good morning again. It's the 3rd day here, and I think our numbers are good. So I'm really pleased to see everybody out there. Let's see if we can have some fun today. This is a kind of a buffet module. We're going to talk about what tools are available. And I realize there's a lot of different perspectives in terms of the audience online. Some of you may pick up a toolbox, some of you may not, some of you may want to know what's available, some of you may want to work within the education aspect. So there's going to be something for everybody in here, I think. We'll start off with diagnostic tools. I know, JJ, this is always your favorite, and certainly mine and a few others too. Today, there's just so many tools that are available to make energy visible. So being able to look at a facility, measure things, understand what that implies in terms of the level of energy consumption, what the opportunities might be. We learned on Tuesday about the thermal cameras and the building envelope. And I think earlier in the sessions, Michelle spoke to the use of, say, indoor air quality monitors, and there's nice things like light loggers and different tools. So, I mean, I'm not going to go through all those. What I want everyone to be aware is there's just so many good things available at a relatively low price today. That's the nice thing, is that this stuff When I started off in this business, it would have cost 10 times if I could even get hold of some of this stuff. So there are some great tools out there. What we'll do is we'll probably send along a series of links after the session, sort of as follow-up, and we'll put some links in there to some of the suppliers. There are some good Canadian suppliers of that kind of equipment. So the next thing, so maybe you don't pick up a tool, but maybe you've got someone who's going to be working with you that you want to do some analysis on your systems. So there's just a ton of good worksheets out there, things that are available to do calculations. NRCan, represented here by both Kevin but also Isabel, published a number of years ago a thing called Conducting an Energy Audit. And there's a link to it, the first link in the bullet there. It's technical, it is, but it has a lot of good checklists in it, a lot of good little worksheets you can use. If you want to do a condition assessment of the different pieces of equipment and maybe areas of your hospital, not a quantitative assessment, but a qualitative assessment, sort of rank which areas might have the greatest opportunities. So a great condition assessment tool there. Energy Star, and Isabel is going to speak to that a little bit later in the session. Energy Star on the NRCan website have just a whole variety of equipment sheets, design templates, great tools that you can use to really start to make decisions around purchasing new equipment and even looking at where your existing equipment sits and all of that. And suppliers, I have one here from ABB. I'm not picking on any one supplier. I think I've got a couple more in the next slide, but the suppliers out there have some great tools. That's an energy or a variable speed drive calculator pictured there, but there's some really good tools out there with respect to applying some of these technologies. To today, I mean, there's just no lack of resources when it comes to these things. Utilities, associations, vendors, and consultants all have great tools available. On the bottom right-hand side, there's a very simple ventilation calculator from Prism Engineering in Vancouver. Upper right-hand, 3E+. So those in the boiler plant and areas where you've got hot surfaces, pipes, tanks, and so on that need to be insulated, or maybe insulation need to be upgraded. 3E+ is an amazing tool for evaluating the financial opportunity in adding insulation. Enbridge, a utility, gas provider, they have a great air curtain calculator. So you have an overhead door and an entry, they have a specific calculator. We can calculate in RETScreen, as Kevin will show us in a few minutes, we can calculate the cost of energy and the improvements by making upgrades to conventional wind or envelope components. But a large door and an air curtain applied is really not that conventional. So there's some specific calculators out there that are quite good. And right at the bottom there, our friends south of the border, they have some amazing tools also. There's a great energy management tool library there. Many of them are free tools. So make sure you have a look at things like that as well. So those are kind of the technical tools that might be available to you. What we're going to go through for the remainder of this session this morning then is programs. So we'll start off, Dan, I'm going to put you on notice there. You can unmute your mic there just to make sure yeah, that's good. So the Green Hospital Scorecard. So Dan Ritchie from the Coalition has done quite a bit of work in terms of developing a scorecard. Some of you may have participated in it. He's going to speak to that, what he did and the results. And then following that, I'll say a few words about Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which I think when Isabel comes on later, she can also maybe speak to as well. But that will segue me into RETScreen Expert, and we're going to have Kevin talking about what's available. And in fact, I really believe that Portfolio Manager and RETScreen Expert form a very wonderful companion set of tools. And then finally, Isabel will speak to the Energy Star program directly. So right now, over to you, Dan, and just let me know when you want me to change a slide.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. That's perfect. So hi, everyone. You've probably been receiving emails from me around how to access things here, but as a representative of the Coalition, a big part of the work that I'm doing is working on the Green Hospital Scorecard. And we are actually finishing out our 7th year of being able to add this resource and this tool to healthcare providers across Canada. And so this actually is really helpful for energy managers in a lot of ways, because it's a clear visualization of your energy use and then also energy intensity, and you're able to sort of compare your results against your peers of similar scale hospitals and healthcare facilities, and then also have a visualization of how you've been performing in previous years. So you get a really nice sort of visual, as you can see in the right corner here of the images, sort of how your hospital is doing in previous years, and also how are your peer groups doing. So we're right in the stage of sending out the Green Hospital scorecards. There have been some delays due to the COVID pandemic, but we will be handing those out and then having our awards ceremony where we'll actually be highlighting the top performers. So it's a great way to sort of gain forms of recognition for any energy initiatives and innovation, and also a great way to sort of visualize and help inform your decision making and benchmarking around energy. And if you have any questions, you can email me directly at dan@greenhealthcare.ca, and open to answering any questions around how you can get involved and how we can accommodate different types of facilities. And then, yeah, just talking about, as I've mentioned, kind of over the past 6 years. So we're currently in our 7th year, and we did have a good amount of participants, all things considered. So yeah, this is just kind of showing the level of hospitals and the divide between 4 different peer groups. So we're sort of looking at community, academic, non-acute, and then also small facilities. We're also in the stage of integrating long-term care facilities. And so we're looking to sort of be able to expand the offering to other facilities as well across Canada. And yeah, next slide there. All right, thanks. And so yeah, this is just kind of an example of the survey questions that we would be asking through the Green Hospital scorecard. Energy is a big foundation of the scorecard, and we're constantly evolving to sort of incorporate how we can see different hospitals and facilities and how they're using tools and how they're using different forms of innovation in their energy management. And
so it's kind of to what we're doing here today, right? This, on the left-hand side, you've got the tools that we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely, yeah. So there is, yeah, exactly. So this is really complementary towards RETScreen and towards other tools such as Portfolio Manager. So we actually do explicitly ask within our survey that we're sending out to facility managers and other people who are participating in the Green Hospital scorecard around their energy use, but also what sort of tools they're using as well, so that we can get a wider picture. And all this information goes in towards not only the results, but we do actually post this information, sort of de-identified information on our website through our annual reports. So those are available online. And yeah, and then there's just a bit of an explanation of what are your policies. We want to get an insight in towards what type of renewable energies you actually use, and what kind of sources are you exploring, and what kind of sources are you sort of currently developing within your sites. And yeah, and there's more kind of explanation of this is from last year's results in terms of the amount of renewable options that sites are sort of exploring. Solar photovoltaic is sort of a clear form of renewable energy that sites are exploring. And then there's also the idea of what have sites particularly implemented already, what projects have already got off the ground. And so yeah, this is just an example of the recent results around what sites are actually exploring in terms of renewable energy sources.
That's great, Dan. So just to reiterate, if anybody has questions, would like some background information, more information, there's Dan's information there, dan@greenhealthcare.ca. But I'm sure many of you have already received emails from Dan. So
yeah, thanks.
Thanks very much, Dan. Appreciate that. So that's a very specific form of benchmarking to your sector, to your coalition. What I'd like to do is just take a couple of minutes right now and refer to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. I know a number of healthcare organizations actually use Portfolio Manager to look at their organizations. I know we have Tim Cross on the line, maybe a couple of other people from Service New Brunswick and the healthcare sector in New Brunswick. And I know Kate Butler and her team, Tim and others, use Portfolio Manager extensively in both the healthcare and also in schools. So it's a pretty robust tool when it comes to looking at rating and being able to compare facilities one to the other, but also compare facilities, say, in your portfolio to others. So if you have only 1 or 2 buildings, you can still compare to buildings outside of your jurisdiction in a sense. And the neat thing about it is it not only provides for that energy intensity, that gigajoules per square meter or the kilowatt hours per square foot, however you might look at it, and you can use either units, excuse me, it also then comes up with a normalized score. And And healthcare was one of the first sectors which this score was actually developed for in Canada. So it allows you to get a number between 1 and, I think on the next slide we'll show it, between 1 and 100, and it tells you where you sit in the pack of buildings, and it's adjusted for many features of operation. So not just energy intensity, takes into account weather and other types of activity in the hospital. So you input that information, you get a score. If you're a 56, it means that you're basically just above the median. It means that about 44% of buildings are actually better than you, but there's a lot more that are not as good as you. So it kind of gives you an idea of where you sit in the pack. You can configure a portfolio manager to display information a lot of different ways. It has very good tools for getting your data in and making sure that that data is does not have errors, because often we'll make a mistake or there'll be a billing error or something, but it has a set of tools for working through and combing those out and really conditioning your data, which means you're going to get good results coming out of it. Now, the next segment we're going to talk about is RedScreen. I'm going to put Kevin on notice there that he can jump in a second. But I really see Portfolio Manager and RedScreen Expert as two very complementary tools. One comes obviously from the US, one comes from Canada. RedScreen is a made in Canada solution, which is used the world over. I'll let Kevin speak to that one, but we're pretty proud of that tool. But at the same time, it works well with Portfolio Manager, because if you do have your data in Portfolio Manager, on a monthly basis, you've been benchmarking your buildings, comparing one to the other within your own small portfolio or larger portfolio, and then to the others with the Energy Star score. With a couple of clicks, and I'll honestly say, the first time I did this with a sample portfolio that I had like about 20 buildings. I literally hit 3 buttons. I said, export my entire portfolio to a spreadsheet. I went into RedScreen, I clicked the RedScreen Connect button. I said, from Portfolio Manager, I pointed it to my file, and lo and behold, it created an entire portfolio in RedScreen. And a portfolio in RedScreen isn't just one file like I was showing you on Tuesday of this week, right? 1 file per renewable energy system. That portfolio is a whole collection of files, and Kevin's going to speak to that one. So right now, I'm going to sort of let Kevin talk about Portfolio Manager, or sorry, RedScreen Expert. Kevin, if you want to take the screen control right now, go ahead. And he will show us all the wonderful things we can do, which include benchmarking, feasibility analysis, performance analysis, and then bringing it all together in the portfolio. So Kevin, if you're there, over to you.
Steven, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So I was just wondering, so you said that you can download data from Portfolio Manager to RedScreen Expert. Can we do the other way around? Like if I already have data in RedScreen, can I import it to Portfolio Manager?
You could. There are ways to export. I'm not going to say that the format is perfect. Kevin, I'm going to let you answer that question because you probably have tried that.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. I was just worried about your mic there. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the question? It was about going
the question was, you can export data from Portfolio Manager and literally suck it seamlessly into RedScreen Expert. But can you go the other way? Can you take data? And I know you can export a data file from RedScreen, but how close is it to the format that Portfolio Manager wants to see? Or do we have to do some manipulation on that?
I know that we say that you can do that. I don't know exactly the process to do it. I think it's pretty close. And when you're in the portfolio, there's actually a button that says export all, and it will export all the sheets for all the files. And that should be in a format that, if not directly compatible with Portfolio Manager, is similar.
Yeah, I know I did it years ago. I did it years ago in an earlier version, and I had to do a few little formatting, but that's about it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
You're all set there, Kevin?
Okay, hold on. I'm having a bit of a echo in my thing here. I'm just going to turn off this microphone. Can I be heard?
You can be heard, Kevin.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. In fact, the file format that we based the RedScreen Connect, which is the tool that we use to import all the data into RedScreen, that file format is based on the export from Portfolio Manager. And actually, if you can see my screen, if I go to my portfolio here, and I go to, Stephen had mentioned this portfolio manager. So we have all these connectors. And if you click on this title here that says RetScreen Connect Create from File, we'll have a short description that is describes some of the steps to get the data in, including a portfolio manager procedure. So exactly what buttons you have to click in Portfolio Manager to get the data out to a format that is works with RetScreen, and that data format was based on their files. Okay, so what I wanted to quickly discuss here about RetScreen sort of in the next 15 minutes is, I know Stephen had mentioned RetScreen in terms of renewables earlier in the week. I know there's a lot of people here who are familiar with RetScreen in various degrees, either performance analysis or looking at individual projects within your healthcare facility. But I wanted to sort of zoom out a little bit and sort of give the bird's eye view of, there's really three main components of projects that you can do with RetScreen. And I have here on the home page this circle, which if you notice actually is divided into three sections: benchmarking, feasibility, and performance. And they really are distinct processes, and yet they all link to each other, and the information from one feeds into the other. So Dan had mentioned before the Green Hospital Scorecard, which is a form of benchmarking. And RetScreen has a benchmarking tool in there that can complement that and use benchmarking from data that you get from external sources or from your energy bills, for example. The next is the feasibility analysis, and Stephen had mentioned the renewables section earlier in the week, but feasibility is also your energy efficiency measures, you know, your lighting and pumps and compressed air. And you can look at either a whole facility or just a part of it. And then, of course, once you have projects that you've identified, you'll then want to track those. And that's where the portfolio manager import comes in, and we call that performance analysis. And I'm quickly going to show what each of those look like. And so just as to jog your memory, for those of you who might not remember, RetScreen has built in a bunch of archetypes, which are sort of pre-done full facility templates, including the costing, that have sort of all the elements that you would need to then adapt those to your healthcare facility. So you access those in RetScreen using the virtual energy analyzer. And so you end up with this a map and a drop-down list of facility types. So if you're doing renewables, there's a bunch of renewable archetypes. If you're doing looking at more equipment, so CHP or just a heating network, or looking at sizing your HVAC system, the power heating cooling model is probably the way to go. And then the commercial institutional, under there, we have healthcare facilities. We have two archetypes, an outpatient and an inpatient. I'm going to take the bigger one, and I'm actually going to go to, let's see, actually I just drove by this the other day. This is near where I live, out in St. Catharines. This new hospital out here. And if I click OK, RetScreen will load that archetype and load the climate data for that location, and then run it and have a full facility archetype, which then you can use as a basis for any projects. So you'll see here that I have the archetype for the climate data, start describing the facility, and on the bottom of this facility page, we have the benchmark data. So we can put in the size of the facility. Maybe the size of mine is actually 26,000 square meters. And you'll see that some of these numbers adjust. And you can put your benchmark data here. You can put the data that you have from the scorecard in here. And I'll show you a way also that you can get from your energy bills the data to actually feed this information. On the next tab, the energy tab, is sort of, if you will, the heart or the guts of the archetype. It's a full facility energy model. And some of you may be familiar with this, but this is sort of the overview of all the different energy projects, energy efficiency measures that we could include in our building. And so if I click on any of these, so for example, the lights in the trauma center, you'll see here I have a base case and a proposed case, and the various number of lights and the efficiencies that I have and what I'm proposing to do. And so I'm proposing an energy project here, right? And the cost for it. And then if I zoom out, I can see that that trauma lighting project is one among dozens and dozens and dozens of potential energy efficiency projects here. And now this isn't that specific hospital that I had in St. Catharines, but I would argue it has most of the elements that you would need to do a healthcare facility. And so it's up to you then to go through this and adapt the ones that you need, duplicate them, remove the ones that aren't applicable. And that's in fact what we've done, and JJ and Stephen, for a couple of examples where we use this, for example, for a lighting project. So you'll also see at the bottom here, we include the renewables, the solar water heater and photovoltaics, for example, but you can add others. Now, I admit that this is a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot going on here, but you don't have to do a whole facility. You can look at just the HVAC, or just look at sealing up the doors, or just air curtains, for example, like Stephen mentioned. And so I'll show you that. If you go back to the virtual energy analyzer, the last item here, this is new, is called individual measure. And we have here a list of, I think there's over 80 different individual energy efficiency measures that you can look in RETScreen. So if we look at, say, for example, ventilation, we have heat recovery, heat exchangers, setback systems. If you look at pumps, looking at variable speed, we worked with Armstrong on developing a bunch of these, booster pumps and so on. So if you click on any of these, you'll get the archetype, but really constrained down to just that element. Okay. There's a bunch of tools in here, if you're not familiar, to actually sort of narrow down and sort of get a better picture of your facility, so of how it's being modeled. So here's an end use chart, and you can actually look at it, break it down by the which fuels, and so that you can sort of compare that with your actual bills, so that you make sure that you're actually modeling something that makes sense. So the next part, let's go back to the start here. The next part that I just quickly showed you, benchmark and feasibility, both for a whole facility and also individual measures. The next part is performance. And I know some of you are doing this, but I've realized also that this ties in really well with the portfolio manager part, and also other data import tools. So let me go back to the portfolio. You'll see here that you can import data from Portfolio Manager, but there's a lot of other systems. We're continuing to add. We're working with Schneider right now to add Schneider and also direct SQL databases. And ultimately, our goal is that any data source that you could have, we should be able to consume that in a way so that you we remove the pain of importing data to do energy analysis for that third part of that circle, performance analysis. Now let me show you what the performance analysis looks like. I've loaded up here a template, an example that we have of a facility in Chicago, a hospital here, and you'll see here that this is really simplified. Just to sort of show what it is you first are importing the data, your electricity, your gas. You could do your water, your waste. I know that I've seen other people put various like medical gases in here. And then you can do different manipulations and analysis of them. And then in the, then you start doing an analysis of them, and you start looking at, well, what's the profile over time? And we can see here that the fuel consumption goes, but it bumps up regularly right in the summertime. this is the electricity consumption. So you can start asking questions of your data. And then the next step, if you wish, is to start doing baselining using regressions, and even going into measurement and verification, M&V, where you're actually sort of measuring those, the effects and the, measuring the relationship and quantifying the relationship between your energy consumption and what's actually happening in your building, whether it be the occupancy, the heating degree days, the cooling degree days. And because we can quantify that relationship through what we call a regression baseline equation, you can then use that for forecasting as well. I know that forecasting is something that we're all asked to do, but we can use this as a forecasting tool. So RETScreen here, I have this relationship. I can click on this forecast button and let RETScreen establish what the forecast could be for, in this case, natural gas, or what the cost would be for natural gas consumption. Now, with everything that's happened with COVID, this relationship sometimes breaks down. And so we need to do an adjustment to that. And I know that Stephen has been working hard on that. It's something technically called a non-routine adjustment. And that's coming. We're working on that. We're hurrying up to get that ready for you, so that we can, so that's a tool, another tool that you have when you're tracking your energy, when you're tracking your utility bills, to be able to take that into account, this sort of unprecedented event that we've had. Okay, so quickly, we've looked at benchmark, we've looked at feasibility, we've looked at performance. Let's look at them all together. And I've loaded up here, this is our laboratory where we develop RETScreen just south of Montreal in Varennes. You may have seen this example. You can actually load this example if you go to in RETScreen File, New, and click on File Example. It will actually load this up. You'll see here that just like before, I have now, we started with an archetype, but we've spent the time and we've gone in each of these and we've actually described our building, including our PV system, right? We've then gone and we've tracked the emissions for the various energy efficiency projects we've done over time, the payback of those projects, and doing a risk analysis, because ultimately a lot of these projects are unknown. We don't know what the, we don't know if COVID's coming, if there's going to be another one, right? So you can put some uncertainty around those numbers. And then looking at the performance tracking, we can see here, same thing, we have electricity, gas, water, but then when we get to the analytics, we've done a lot more work here where we've started doing M&V and forecasting and comparing this with to quantify the savings. And another new tool that we have in RETScreen is called this custom dashboard. So I know that in terms of reporting, and even for the energy scorecard, there's a need to provide only the information that you need in a very concise way. And we've developed this dashboard for you so that you can adapt this. And you'll see if I go to click on Format Dashboard, and suppose I didn't want this graph, I can pull that one out. And instead I want this graph to put in here. I can drag it and drop it. And you can change logos and you can do everything and really create a completely customized graph for what you need. Okay. Now I promised before to show you how you can use your energy data for the benchmarking. Let me just show you that.
Well, Kevin, just as you're doing that, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Well, I really won't. I hope I won't. But I did say to folks in the last session when there was some interest around using the using RETScreen for renewables, is we're going to hopefully be able to provide everybody with a training license as a result of their participation in these sessions. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to help me do that, and that'll give everybody if you haven't got a license now, a 90-day license to give it a go, try out some of these cool features that Kevin's showing us, and then make your own decision about whether you want to proceed from there.
Yeah, exactly. And probably the best way is you can email me directly But if you go to RETScreen File, Help, and click on this Customer Support, that's a box that I check. It's my main email box. But if I'm away, it's also constantly monitored. And then when I'll work with Stephen, we'll get you a software key. You'll come into the subscribe page and you'll apply the software key that we'll send you by email, and then RETScreen will unlock the professional mode. And the professional mode here, there's just a couple of features that we have added to the professional mode. The main one is being able to save your file, and I know many people here already have the professional mode of RETScreen. But what I wanted to show you was I promised that there would be a way to get the benchmarking data from your actual bills, right? So one way is, so let's look. This is the Swedish hospital in Chicago. I have natural gas and electricity, right? So you'll notice that one thing we need to do is to put these into common units, and RETScreen has a consumption summary to let you do that. So RETScreen will say, well, you know, I have electricity and I have natural gas, and it knows what the conversion factors and the emission factors based on your location. Remember at the beginning, we set the location. So if you're in New Brunswick or Alberta or Ontario, it will actually take the emissions factor, and those are completely customizable as well. We have a nice database here for emissions factors. When you create this consumption summary, RETScreen will put this into common units. So you'll see now that I have electricity and natural gas, in this case in kilowatt hours, and it's put it into equivalent units for the total. And now this button becomes active, called the performance tracker. So I can click on the performance tracker, and you can see here that I can look at my fuel consumption on an intensity basis, so kilowatt hour. And so I know, like, for example, it's gigajoules per square meter. And I can see here that what the benchmarks were, what the energy use intensity values were for each, you know, specific year. So I can look at it over time, and also you can look at emissions intensity and so on and so forth. So there's a little tool in there that can help you for benchmarking if you're getting your data into RETScreen, whether that be through Portfolio Manager, whether you're already doing it, or whether you're doing it from another file. If you do have other files other than this Portfolio Manager one, and you want some help, send me an email. I have a bunch of resources and to get you up to speed on getting your data into RETScreen.
So Kevin, we just got a couple of minutes left, or how are we doing?
I'm good for now, but if people want to ask questions.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen back from you there, but unless there's... Go ahead, Jazz.
Yeah, so this is, I'm absolutely new to this RETScreen, so I'm trying to understand it. So can we calculate the carbon emissions through this screen, right? I'm just kind of assuming we can.
Yeah, there's a couple of places. If you're doing a project, you can see the emission reductions, but if you're in that tracker that he just showed you, that's also a way to see the emissions. So Kevin will show us that very quickly here.
Yeah.
So
whether you remember that circle, there's the benchmarking, feasibility, and performance. The performance is looking at what your actual utility bills are. So RETScreen actually has the ability to do that. So because you would be importing your electricity and natural gas, we know what the or you can specify what the emissions factors are for that. So here, this is in Quebec, but you know, if I wanted to go to user defined, we could see what the specific emissions factor are for electricity in Quebec or in your province, and we can see what the natural gas emissions factor are for natural gas, but propane and all the other fuels you'd be doing. And then so when you do that performance tracker, you'll notice here I also have emissions, but then when we also go to the the analytics where I was showing you the, tracking the energy use, all of these are also available for the emissions. So even when we were looking at the forecast, so I can actually look at the forecasted emissions. And when I'm looking at the savings because of an energy efficiency measure, you can look at the GHG savings. So emissions is a key part of any energy tracking, and RedScreen does it automatically.
So that's a big yes. And also, I showed yesterday or Tuesday when you did a project, it will show you the before and after, the base case and the proposed case. Kevin will click on here, and there's your emissions. So your green thing in the proposed case is what you've actually reduced your emissions by. So it'll quantify your emissions from a project that you're speculating about the savings for. Great. Well, thank you, Kevin. That was wonderful. I'm going to grab the screen back from you, and JJ is going to talk one slide very quickly here, and then I'm going to turn the microphone over to Isabel to talk very quickly about 2 slides on the Energy Star program. So let me make my switch here. There we go. So JJ, you're up there on this one very quickly. This was an example project that you used RedScreen on a while ago.
Yeah, this is a sample project, sort of a hypothetical thing that we're throwing in here. And a few people have looked at us doing some evaluation through RedScreen over the past couple of years. So initially it started as evaluation of lighting fixture and controls replacement. And it was used to reconcile some numbers against calculations done by a consultant. And RedScreen absolutely confirmed the consultant's project results of a 3.1 year payback on the project. And looking into the project a little bit further, it was proposed that there be some HVAC control systems tied to the lighting controls. So occupancy and vacancy sensors would influence lighting and the HVAC system cutbacks and temperature setbacks as well. And again, running the analysis through RedScreen, we confirmed an approximate 3.6 year payback on the project, even though the overall project costs almost tripled with the additional work. So it was a very useful tool, and again, for me, I'm just delighted when I can just hit a button and it puts together a case study or a report for the administrative people to see, and it does that all in a matter of seconds.
Great, thank you, JJ. Well, Isabel, if you're available there, I'm just going to make sure you've got your. Can you open up your mic just to confirm that we'll be? Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to flip over. There's a couple of slides here, and Isabel would like to give us some perspective on the Energy Star programs. So over to you, Isabel.
Bonjour à tous. Hello, everyone. There's so many things to say about Energy Star. I'll start to be brief. First of all, these are like we have here on the slide like several of our tools, but prior to that, just wanted to just give you a bit some stats and saying something that is really important to keep in mind is that when you save dollars, you're actually making money. And this money that you're making, you can sort of invest it somewhere else that is way more useful than just paying your energy bills. So just keep that in mind, because Energy Star certified products is kind of a great way to save you money. And when you actually think that a commercial building wastes about 1/3 of their energy that they use, there's definitely, like, if you're sort of able to save that energy or to actually make enough improvement to your building, or actually to replace some inefficient products that you're using, such as lighting or a dishwasher in the kitchen, then you might be in a good place. So we have to do so. We have a calculator that you can actually use, and the calculator helps you quantify the savings to make the most cost-effective purchases and simplify the procurement process. So it's going to be easier to justify it if you need to justify it to a different department in your organization. And there's also sometimes some provinces or utilities have rebate programs. So we have a directory of all the Energy Star rebate program in Canada, and also in that page there's a link that for just energy efficient one, just not only the Energy Star certified products. The product finder will actually get you a list of certified products if you want to find a specific dishwasher, for instance, like commercial dishwasher, and see if they're Energy Star certified. You have one in mind, then you can find it on that list. We have also different tools and publications that you want to, if you want to consult that, with all kinds of interesting information in it to help you. You have also always our team. If you want to contact us, join the program as well. You can always contact me. And what I wanted to say, yes, in terms of back to my first comment about energy that you're saving is energy that you're making. It's really important to look beyond the initial prices. You'll like there's not only a purchase price, but there's also the cost that it takes you to operate the product, like the machines or the system makes it like a ventilating system or heating system, a cooling system. Like you'll need to operate it. You'll need to put some maintenance on it. It just gives you some performance and some quality. And Energy Star never sacrificed the performance of a product towards energy efficiency. So keep that in mind as well. And product usage as well. Sometimes like a fryer, a commercial fryer, will a certified one might even save you some oil change and some oil even. So you're saving on the oil because it's going to take some less oil, or it's just going to dirt less often. So then you need to replace it less often as well. So that's pretty good. Dishwasher, I'm really stuck on like dishwasher today, but it's just a great example, like knowing that it's like we need to eat and wash our dishes like 3 times a day more for people. Dishwasher often are using more than 2/3 of the overall water use of a building, which is like it's quite a lot of water. So here we have on the slide, like that's one of the reasons why I keep talking about dishwasher, is that it's in a commercial kitchen that we find quite often in cafeteria, in hospitals and healthcare system building. We have like the 5, like I've actually put there like the 5 top like energy sort of that will save you more money in terms of food preparation. When you think that food preparation is using 35% of your overall energy, the refrigeration will use 6%, the lighting 13%. The lighting is not in there but it's kind of implied because it's in the overall building. But you have the old food holding cabinet that has an efficiency of 70%, steam cooker That's not only using like saving you energy, but a lot of water as well. Some provinces you do have to pay for hot water, like an additional charge. You have the dishwasher that will again save you like 40% in efficiency, and then another additional like 40% on water. The specification for dishwasher is actually coming, will be strengthened, and certified model will actually be a new specification will come into force next May, like in 2021. The fryer, as I was saying, like you can save up to 35% on an Energy Star like certified fryer. It's quite a bit if you want to heat your fries properly. And then you have the refrigerators, freezers, that even a residential like fridge and freezer will save you like between 10 and 20%. And you can have it like sometimes like every department. I used to work in a hospital when I studied, and every single department it was a psychic hospital, and we had like all units like depending on the type of patient that were in there, and every little like mini sort of section in the overall hospital had like a mini kitchen. So the mini kitchen all had like a dishwasher, fridge, and actually like coffee maker, coffee brewer, but to serve everybody. So it's kind of interesting to see about those spendings and how they use and how it's actually displayed in the hospital. And the oven, of course, is also a good investment. There's
that's something I wanted to reinforce there, Isabel. When you look at these payback periods, they're very, very quick. And you can look at that other ways in terms of internal rate of return, net present value. And those are probably taking out a working one and replacing the new one. But if you have one that's failing or getting to the end of its life, that actually return on investment to going to the best through Energy Star would be even better.
Exactly, because and when you use the calculator, the Energy Star calculator, it calculates for you the payback period as well as your annual savings, not in just in terms of in dollars and in also greenhouse gas emission like CO2 emissions.
Yeah, it's a really great tool. I just wonder, Isabel, if anybody has any specific questions for you.
And Isabel, if you can put the link to the calculator in the chat, that would be wonderful.
Actually, I think there are already in the presentation.
Okay, good.
But I can certainly like if you look at the presentation, can you see if they're clickable?
They will be. Yeah, there's one on slide number, I think it was slide number 4. So yeah, okay, we'll make sure those links go out with the presentations.
Okay, let me know if they're not. Anyway, I'll send the proper links. I have actually something important to say about the calculator. We have a glitch on the system that we cannot fix. So you need to enter once you're registered, like you enter your email. It's just your email, like there's no password or something. You need to re-enter it, like it says like that you're not there. You need to enter it twice and then it works. So we're aware of it, but we cannot fix it because it's mystery of technology and also governmental constraints about security. So bear with us, seriously.
Great. Well, I'm going to flip the presentation over here. I think we're pretty much finished on this one. I think, JJ, you were going to say a couple of words about education. There are a number of educational resources available, correct? So yeah, Isabel, thank you, Isabel, for your presentation.
Well, thanks for your listening and the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to remind people of the educational opportunities that do exist. Well, number one, the Energy Light program, which we're all participating in today. There's also other courses out there like the BOC course, Building Operator Certification course, Certified Energy Manager CEM course. The Canadian Coalition for Green Healthcare and CHEST, Canadian Healthcare Engineering Society, host a number of webinars through the year, so you might want to look into those if you're interested in advancing your education. Resiliency mentoring, that happens through the coalition, and if you're interested in that, by all means get a hold of myself or somebody in the coalition like Kent or Dan. And then of course there's the $cents to cents customized workshops that occur throughout the year. And I also wanted to mention too, if people are interested, maybe we'll have a discussion on this later on in the day. We're looking to perhaps establish a community of practice for everyone, and everyone in this Energy Light program. If you had an interest in this, it would be great. We'd love to create this community of practice amongst people from across the country and different parts of the world, for that matter. Just a place to come online and talk about what projects you're considering or what you're working on, what's working, what isn't. And so, as I say, at the end of the day, let's think about that. And if we can get people to, use the chat line to express an interest in that sort of thing, then I'm sure that the coalition would be happy to work to establish that community of practice. Thanks, Stephen.